Hey yo, what's up everybody? Sorry I'm late. Dan Tom here, host of this here shit show, the Protect Your Neck podcast, where of course we break down high level MMA, but in a slightly different way. Going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 72, UFC Fight Night 223, UFC Fight Night Song versus Simone Vato, UFC Fight Night Yadong versus Simone, however you prefer it. We're going to be breaking it down in the future. If you look into the timestamps, you'll see, and you can jump ahead. But if you're live, you're kind of stuck with me until we get to it. Going to be breaking down, or recapping, I should say, UFC Vegas 71 and Bellator Hawaii. On-the-ground experiences in one, betting experiences in the other, and air quotes, betting experiences for others. We will recap it. I will account for it. All the same, feel free to join in the chat, share this out. Engagement is even more key. It's like part of me needs to ask for it more because with the whole reformation of the main place I operate at, Dan Tom MMA, let me get that on there. Where you usually can find me on Twitter. You can find a similar one there on Instagram. Trying to get more active on Discord, where I need to still reach out to people like my guy Tim B from Bloody Elbow and whatnot. But everybody's been kind of reformatting for one reason or another, and as you could see, even if you were someone who pays for the blue ticks, which I am not, and even there seeing the engagement, which is pretty sad. So yeah, any shares and all that stuff is all fun, but if not, I also kind of don't care. It's what it is. I'm grateful to be doing what I'm doing. I'm grateful to be here with you guys. I'm grateful to talk fights. Grateful, to be in good enough health to do this, and hopefully go work the bag after this. Was able to stretch out a bit, feeling a bit tight. Still trying to get back to it. All that fun stuff. Again, apologies for being late. Thank you guys. TB Scouting, my guy Rain Lamina, already in the house. Rain Lamina, this is the patchy mix of disastrous fight picks. I'll take that. Shout out to Patchy Mix. We'll do that. Best in the biz. I don't know about that, but I do appreciate the positive as well from my guy TB Scouting over at Chronic Combat Conversations. I almost said Combat Chronicles. Hopefully I'll be setting up this next month with my guy Kyle Mack over there at the Combat Chronicles. Going to hopefully get a top 5 going. Got some more top 5 evergreen stuff that I got going in the burner and pumping out. As well, if you're keeping your your eyes peeled, I guess, to your feeds that are pertain to MMAJunkie.com, where, of course, you might be familiar with my work, as well as outlets like the Action Network for more on the betting side of things. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of evergreen stuff for MMA Junkie. Recently released the Anderson Silva revisit, which is fun. Try to put in some fun references, some clips for the hardcores, right? As well as going to be doing, those recap fight night flashbacks. I got to figure out which one I'm going to... I think I know what card, so I got to get it plotted out for May. If you guys like those, I did the last one with my guy Brad Taschuk, who is always going to have a recurring seat if he wants one in any form on this show. But yeah, I'm going to try to mix up which kind of events we cover with those, and double dipping, be doing a written form over there at Junkie. So again, I don't know. Voting with your dollars feels like the only the only thing outside of important things locally, of course, to vote for and whatnot. But that's not my lane. But as far as mixed martial arts and stuff and good content, vote with your dollars. Why not? That's that. Or vote with your clicks. Vote with your shares. It's all fun. Likes while you're at it. If you're here, thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't pollute your feed. Follows at the PYN podcast on all social platforms. Again, at Dan Tom MMA is where you can find me. Doing a little bit of a walk and talk, forgive me. We're going to brush in here. I'm going to try to keep it tighter. As much as I love the live chat, and we'll be continuing this aspect, don't worry. I think it was kind of short and sweet last week because there was no me getting, sidetracked as I do. Not blaming the live chat. It's more me. The common thread is me. It's not you. It's me. But we were able to cover like 4 events, 3 preview events, and 1 recap event in like an hour and a half. Not too shabby, if I say so myself, especially my long-winded ass. But yeah, feel free to contribute, but I'm going to try to keep it tighter in there. Actually, I don't really need to do a walk and talk because, again, I don't care to share as much. And I keep forgetting that with the, upgrade of the eCam program that I use, and actually auto-post to Twitter. And people, if you're on Twitter, hey, you can actually submit questions to there, I think. So you actually don't have to subscribe to my channel, which I probably shouldn't say aloud. Dan, This is why you're a bad businessman, amongst other things. I'll take it, but yeah. Let's see. Let's make sure it's, I think it's posted right there. Oh, hey, speaking of my guy, Brady, give the video a like. I'll try to retweet this once we get into the actual breakdown, but we'll keep it to recap stuff and get on with our bad selves for right now. I'll keep this up and open. Hopefully we're all seeing me clearly. Camera's on the right one. Camera 1, camera 2. Wayne's World GIF. It's a pretty shit show card. We'll get to that. You know what? I surprisingly, again, I think I was like, it's funny again. Like I always, honest transparency to a fault. Despite not being an actual journalist, as much as I try to aspire to be as transparent and honest as a journalist should be, and hold myself to similar standards, despite not that being my beat or my claim. But it's always funny whether it's the numbers I post beforehand, which will be the case this week. I'm going to be posting shitty numbers, even though I'll actually be getting better numbers from my house. Followers will be getting numbers, and especially if you follow the houses that my betting articles and stuff cite, you get better betting numbers through there. Me, no. Very bad numbers and whatnot. No same game parlays, no fantasies. No crazy high numbers or just good numbers for the basic stuff that we all kind of can get and pick from. It's fine. It's kind of just a funny thing. Grateful to be doing what I'm doing, but for people to think because I work in betting and I live in Vegas, I must just have access to fucking, bookies sucking my dick to give me a line hit. No, it's nothing like that. But I don't know why I would say that, but you know what I mean. There's no preferential shit going on over here. A lot of that's due to my own fault and lack of, again, political business savvy. But yeah, no, and the law and IP addresses and my dumbass not being able to get around those things too. So, there are those things too, legit things as well, to be fair. But yeah, I will give you what I got. And as far as my losses go, I usually always end up claiming because, am I getting patient? Or, despite whatever perceived stereotype you may have about me, my math is bad. So at times, even with the old, doing the calculator on the go, I'm not waiting for my app to do it. So I'll be like, let me just get this out here, And I think it was only like a total of a loss of, again, accounting for everything, 0.48, 0.33. So under a half unit total, which actually isn't bad, again, when you incorporate the Popodorus and Nate Diaz plays, which actually saved our day because UFC Vegas 71 did not go great. Let's start there, 749. UFC recap here. We went 4-6-1 overall, which is terrible in picks. 0-2 for the parlays. I don't parlay much, and another verified reason why I don't there. 1-1 in the totals. There's that, I guess. 0-5 in round flyers. Of course, those are small amounts, but 0-5 nonetheless. Not good. Was not able to round robin, so there's none of those, which is probably a good thing. They would have fell flat because of the limited nature of my round robins that seem to limit me more, which sucked because despite the volatile cards, I don't think I'll be too short on juicy round robin darts. It's just what is my house going to let me? Shout out to my guy Martin P there. I think he's been hitting me up with the Circa app that's been beneficial for multiple reasons. I don't want to light up his spot or anybody else on those games. But as far as, playing my Russian roulette, I maybe some weekends, maybe some weekends not, from what it sounds like, as far as being limited to my selections there. But I got to get my round robins going. It's my favorite thing to do. And I haven't been liking as many underdogs to just do the normal round robins that you don't get limited on, where you just throw a bunch of underdogs on there, especially if there's a bunch of underdogs on the prelims that are just low level. You don't want to expose yourself like a pervert, outside of Anyways, but you know what I mean. You don't want to expose yourself. Jesus, Dan, what was with the analogies today? I'm pretty beat this week. Sorry, that's no excuses for being late. But yeah, I'm just honestly just dragging ass in multiple ways this week. So bear with me. I'm happy to be here. We're going to get through this. Going to try to get through this tight, but no promises as far as my mic goes. We'll see as far as the plays go. But was not good for the UFC. Let's go through those results. Again, no round robin, so that's where it lays for those. And then we'll get into more Bellator Hawaii next and UFC. So if you're listening to the future, you can jump forward. What's up, my guy, Mark Fellows from Australia? G'day from sunny Sydney. Mark, what's up, man? Hopefully I didn't, brutalize the the vocals there. I saw you posting some GNR. You know, me and you are older dudes with tastes that are even before our times, I believe. So I appreciate you, sir, and sharing your beers and music and all the good stuff on your feed. Positivity, I appreciate it. We could use more of it. Go to UFC Vegas 71. Look at me, got a results tab up. What the shit, Dan? You a podcaster now? We got Sergey Pavlovich, who lost it all on the slot machine, you know, the morning of, which we can all relate to. I know I can't, but not many of us can relate to, not just because luck and turning it around, but you need a bit of a positive PMA, as I said in my posse, hardcore youth crew days of the punk hardcore scene. You need some of that positive mental attitude in this game. You know, it's a lot of mental as well as it is physical. Pavlovich does what he does because he was allowed to, man, and he is, you know, say what you will, you know, if Blades was going to stand with him, it was going to be bad because Blades, regardless of which stance he operates, he steps in with a jab, which his opponent has a proclivity for countering, and that's going to be a very similar dynamic in the bantamweight main event going on this week in the UFC in the very same smaller octagon of the Apex. But you know, when the dedicated, I usually like to side with the like my reasoning with the more proven submission grappler, more proven wrestler, more dangerous grappler, whatever, however you want to characterize it, if it fits the bill, right? Not saying it's the only thing you need to go off of, and it certainly doesn't, like anything, doesn't determine or guarantee a result. There are no guarantees in this game, folks. We all know that. But yes, there is an inherent edge, if you will, and I think that is fair to say, unless that fighter with the inherent edge decides to strike on the back foot and not really go for a takedown until they're hurt. And that was the thing that was crappy the most. I mean, my bet cash, I think, biggest bet of this, of maybe of the weekend, right? Actually did cash here. So I don't know if you want to say it's sour grapes or anything on my end. And it's more because I'm a Curtis Blades fan. As a person, as a fighter, I want to see him do well. And as much as heavyweight gets ragged on, fairly or unfairly, me or others, right? The skillful fighters it does have, you want to see him do well. You want to see him fight the best. You want that top potential for them, us, the air quote sport. And he's long been hailed as the lone guy wrestling, right? The lone credible wrestling threat. I know John Jones is back, and but whatever. And there's other fighters maybe you could point to here and there. Perhaps before Romanov was showing his flags were showing very clearly. There were warning signs before that. But yes, if you were not seeing those, or if it was early on, where I was high on his prospects, perhaps too, when he was first coming in to see what he could be. I think he was still training with King's MMA. But, there could have been flavors of the month, sure. But as far as that present name, that was Blades. And for that one guy to now just kind of start going to striking to his own detriment. And yeah, he's young. He's young for heavyweight division. But, I think shout outs to John Anik. I think it was him saying it on his podcast this week. You can't be accruing those. So the stereotypes of heavyweight aside, optimism aside, you can't be accruing those shots like that. Appreciate the likes, folks. Subscribe. If you feel like contributing to the chat. So that's what happened. And, Pavlovich, man, I don't think he's going to get a shot with Jones for the reasons everybody's saying. I don't really care to beat dead horses or dip too much into that conjecture. But surprise, surprise. Again, yes, he's the GOAT. But, as far as picking and choosing, I don't know, man. I will always favor the GOATs like the Andersons and the BJs and the BJ Penns and the Fedors of their time, because there was a lot on paper against them, or just by their physique with Fedor and BJ's case. And say what you will for the flaws, and especially guys like BJ had many. They were also the most courageous motherfuckers out there. That would step up and save events. As I highlight, that was a move the UFC constantly went to for Silva. He saved more events than you tend to realize. Whether it was that Bonner fight in Brazil, the Affliction ban counter programming, stepping up to beef up a card that didn't need beefing up, but again for the sale and to generate that trend in the Middle East as far as Abu Dhabi and those rights were concerned for that UFC 112 card. Which is why the expectations were so high, not just showing up, right? But yeah, man, those courageous guys, they will always get an edge. You can say, goats and 0 in his record and, you know, this and that. Like, okay. You know. I don't know, man. These motherfuckers dodged as many opponents in drug tests, some of them, as they did, you know, they did punches. So, I don't know. But, hey, I'm not trying to die on any hills here. But, yeah, surprise, I'm saying, no, I don't think the challenging knockout punching threat that we've kind of been waiting for since that Rumble Johnson cancellation for John Jones about a decade now. No, he's not gonna give that to us. He's gonna dress up a half blind pass at Stipe. Now all of a sudden, we're gonna remember, you know, that he has a great call by the numbers. We love them stats in this sport, even though they're kind of meaningless. But you know, but now we're gonna give that Stipe that honor. Not that he doesn't deserve it. You know, it was like Denzel and fucking. It was like Denzel and fucking Hurricane. He deserved it then. It's not like he didn't. It's not like he didn't. It's not like his performance in Training Day wasn't good. I enjoyed Training Day. Relax, folks. I was just pissed that he got it then because the motherfucker deserved it before. So don't be fucking even if it's a positive. Don't keep that same fucking energy. And that's something that I've always kept, even when I was a fucking kid, and something that's completely irrelevant to this, which is movies and stupid imaginary globes and awards. But yeah, that is the narrative we will see. Doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. Bruno Silva defeated Brad Tavares TKO punches. Was very sad. Was watching. May or may not have been just this fight in the main event. Again, I was just trying to stay. It was actually downtime when it was happening on the prelims. You know, may or may not have seen a screen that it was on. And yeah, it was just bummed, man. It was bummed. You know, not because just the bet, you know, went as far as the over misses, and you know, it just and I get it. You know, I get it. Like I get why people would bet Bruno Silva, because even me, a Brad Tavares defender, someone betting more toward his side of things with the over, and to be honest, even people that, you know, were betting or picking Bruno Silva, probably just kicking for coverage, which is smart as far as the money line goes, than having to worry, because it could go long, but you could still win, being the damaging moments like a la, you know, Third Reich's Duplessis. But yeah, like, you know, that was a realistic possibility in my defense as far as the overcall. But man, I'll tell you, this is one of the few times, and I'm shout out city. I give more shout outs than most. I'm more caring regardless of the fighter, if I bet them or not. I bet on the fight or not. I'm probably the person you'll actually see on the timeline to say, I hope that person's okay. I am somebody that will give props to my friends for having a good night, even when I'm having a crappy night. You'll see me do that. You'll see me give props for people that were on the opposite ends. But I'll tell you, and I had friends that bet, most of my friends probably bet Bruno Silva more than Brad Tavares. But this is a fight where, no offense, guys, if you're listening, I would have fucking victory lapped and been happy you lost your money. Fucking happy. Because it's one of those ones where it's just like, obviously there's my bias is laced in that, but then there's that typical, what I said, the Dan Tom betting, right? Where, and usually, whether it's an underdog or in this case a favorite, which makes it ultra weird, and even I was saying that in defense of the Silva bettors, I was surprised that both Brad was a favorite and as big of a favorite with the money widening in his side. I figured the money should have been coming on the Silva side more than it did. But it's just one of those things where it's just like, man, you know, people get so disrespected in this game, and, you know, not just a fan, forget the Hawaiian Stream Tour thing, like technical guys that don't really get the credit for what they deserve. Like, oh, that's a Dan Tom fucking magnet. Like, I am all about those people, right? Like, so there's multiple check boxes than the obvious bias ones. But yeah, man, like, every time you just got to hear like that, you know, this guy, you get disrespected and not given the credit he's due. And just to be around for that long, same with the Ed Herman thing, you know, and shouts to Nolan King, you know, paying respect where it's due. You know, Nolan knows what's up, man. He's don't let the young face and the fact that, you know, we work for air quotes larger outlet. Like, we got love for the hardcores over at Junkie, man, and there's hardcores over at Junkie. So I appreciate shouts to Nolan for that, and as well as as Nolan and Matt, by the way, the Y9 Warrior for giving a real great spotlight piece. I think something I can really be proud of from my outlet. Shouts to Matt Erickson and Nolan for that. That went up this week, but it's like, yeah, man, it's like, yeah, regardless, Edward Herman's not Hawaiian. I know Medeiros is, so sure, I guess you could go ahead and accuse me of bias there, even though that wasn't my project, and Medeiros is a training extreme couture. I don't know him. But yes, I love seeing those stories, man. And I'm sure Bruno Silva's a nice guy and everything. It's just not like anything toward him. But yeah, man, that would have been one. I'm not gonna lie. Dan Tom would have victory lapped on that one, and yeah. But no, I just got to keep watching everybody else victory lap in the I told you so's while people get their dreams crushed. It's great. It's fantastic. Bobby Green versus Jared Gordon ruled a no contest, and that kind of fucked with everybody, whether you had a good night or not, I imagine. Everybody had Green going in their parlays. And I hate these matchups. It's just like and by the way, my new pet peeve, I almost hate it worse than ex-fighter calls out boxer for whatever matchup that's never going to happen. As much as I hate that shit and anything on that side of the fence in mythical fight land territory, what I hate the most is matchups like Gilbert Burns and fucking Bilal Muhammad or Benny Dariush versus fucking what's his name, Charles Oliveira. And again, it's what I talk about. It's either Brazilian war horses who get disrespected, back in the war horse longevity guys being disrespected, not realizing how hard it is to be a Rafael dos Anjos. You fucking realize how hard that is, people? You fucking realize how hard that is? To win your titles late in your careers like that, like RDA and Du Bronx did. Guy like Benil's fucking graying out. He's gonna have 17 Just for Men covers before he gets his goddamn title shot out here. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Middle Eastern guys, Middle Eastern and or Palestinian folk catching the strays. Free Palestine, shout out there. But it's these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Of course, these motherfuckers who have it hard in and out of the cage. They're the ones that are fighting each other. Fire matchup. Why? Because the people that are deserving have to fucking knock each other off. When if they either deserve fun, they're either at the fun fight portion of their career, or if Charles wants to get back in there or whatnot, then fine. Get him back in there with somebody that's going. That makes more sense. Don't get him back in there that's going to knock someone else who's actually super deserving and been doing their work, like Benny Dariush, who, like I said, when Charles was champion, that Benny Dariush, and even though I picked against Makhachev for their southpaw stances, will be deceptively tough matches for Du Bronx, and I obviously only feel more that way. But everyone's like, oh, fire match, and why do they get fucking short notice? Bilal's got to cut weight through Ramadan and jump through all the goddamn hoops again. It's ridiculous. Can we stop the fire emojis? Can we stop the eye emoji things for one? And for goddamn sure, can we stop doing it for these stupid fucking matchups where we're celebrating the people who deserve better getting stuck with shit? Sorry, it's fucking awful. And yes, and this is another one. Oh, I love Jared Gordon. I love Bobby Green. Both underrated. Both deserve love for many as well as different reasons. Jared fucking has the worst luck before every fight. He's almost losing fingers. He's getting mugged. He's try not to get burned alive in fires. You name it. This guy seems to be fucking going through it, right? And he's already having to go through Killer's Row, getting knocked out by aforementioned Du Bronx in stupid matchups. It's why would you put Jared Gordon in this? We already learned this lesson multiple times, much less with the same fucking guy. Why are we going to do it again? Oh, this is your reward for air quotes winning, air quotes losing against Patty, the white natty Pimblett, who, for all I know, just seems to be, all he does is just go on about it. Again, like Gordon said, living fucking rent-free in his head. And it was how we're going to reward. This is Dan's crying. No, this isn't me crying. I don't give a shit. I'm not even talking about the bets here. I don't care about the bets. This is my pet peeve on fucking matchmaking. We reward him with Bobby fucking Green. Are you kidding me? Again, speaking of a guy where it's shit or get off the pot, give him meaningful matchups that actually make sense, or at least the fun veteran matchups. Like, for example, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, run that back at 155. Max ain't doing shit at 145, and it's still a good enough win if DuBronx gets it. That can still give him the title shot, keep him relevant, keep him getting paid, keep them both getting motherfucking paid. You know, that would actually involve thought, care, promoting fighters and their careers. I know. And you're not going to find the UFC, much less the managers, really doing that too much now, are ya? Anyways, rant over. No contest was the right call. But again, you know, was that consistency had with Chris Curtis's fight? Oh, no, it wasn't. He had to take the loss, which means I had to take the betting loss on that one, just like I had to take the betting loss on this one. And what's another notable one that happened at the UFC Apex, where they didn't stay consistent, even within the own action, where they waffled back and forth between Big Dan and Herb? Oh, that's right, that was fucking Kyle Dukakis and Kevin Holland. And guess who was on the wrong side of that one, as well as all the other fucking injury and all the other bullshit? That's right, buddy, your boy. Fucking streak is strong, baby. Well, we're gonna see. I'll probably get a winning fucking night on this stupid carpet. Like, you see, you just stay positive and you get it. Anyways, there's my fucking rant on that one. We'll blow through the rest of this pretty fast, you know, because I'm crying about bets apparently. Yasmin Lucindo defeated Brogan Walker Sanchez. I came out like under a half unit under that. I could give a shit less. I had a great week, folks. We'll get to it and blow through hopefully fast here. I have no opinion on that. Jeremiah was a bullfrog and he defeated Matthew Semmelsberger. It was split decision and the cards were crazy, but boy, do I feel lazy trying to make that song. Christos Yagos defeated Ricky Glenn by KO. Of course, again, I tweet out, like, that's my most confident bet, Ricky Glenn round 2, round 3. Classic again, veteran to pick up the pieces. If he can survive the storm, we'll see if I learn my lesson. I'm stubborn as hell, but god damn it, it's a fucking good read for a reason, and you plus money, you're not having to give away a lot. Fucking forgive me. Sprinkling around 2 and 3. And of course, the guy who never gets KO'd in his career gets KO'd, right? Who would have called that? And yeah, like, it was funny because even like Christos Yagos, despite every right to be excited, claim whatever the fuck he wants, bump his chest, anybody's got the right, it's him. If anybody's got the delusion, it's a fighter, much less a fighter who just accomplished something right. And even in all the adrenaline, and even he was still like, I was kind of surprised. Like, no one's knocked that guy out. Like, he seemed like, even he seemed genuinely surprised. For what it's worth, Montel Jackson defeated Ronnie Yaya by KO. Again, I picked Montel for a reason. It was only a small sprinkle that I was okay with. I'm more bummed about just seeing Hani get iced. But you know what made me feel a little better about that? Montel Jackson, man. He's making me a fan over here because, again, folks, I don't know. People can, you know... It's fine if I'm not your speed, which is totally cool. So maybe I'm not the best example, but like, if someone were to be a sore loser or loud or boisterous about their loss, that's much more accepting and understanding to me than people who are sore winners. You know, just bad winners. They're not humble. They're not gracious. They're not grateful. But you win with class. Like, boy, you make me a fan. And Montel Jackson not just spared Hani Yaya from the extra shot, you know, but was just explaining it, you know, giving him respect and just, making me a fan, man. I mean, as the gambler part of me still going to watch as he continues to make these drastic weight cuts, as he starts to enter into, actually extend into his 30s? Yeah, damn right I am, but I'm wishing the kid nothing but the best, and he's making me a fan, genuinely. So, shouts to Montel Jackson. Norma Beaumont defeated Carol Hossa, who continues her struggles via unanimous decision. Didn't watch that fight. Nor did I watch Muhammad Usman defeat Junior Tafa, nor William Gomi. Actually, I watched a little bit. I was having a brunch in Chinatown, walking the old streets of Nu'uanu before the fights on Saturday. I love it. It's like I was like saying on my Instagram score. It feels like the beginning of Mean Streets, but the Hawaii Chinatown version. It's where like all the sailors used to go to get tattooed and get laid and get fucked up in that part of Chinatown, because all the tattoo shops were laced within Chinatown, and that's also where my other side of my relatives, Sifu Lum, Andrew Lum, and you know the guys who Ed Parker would roll with for a little bit, the Kempo Karate guys, the real traditional martial arts as far as taking everything, and the guys who, all the traditional martial arts, all the Asians that mixed in the islands, right? Hawaii is kind of like it's a mixed plate, right? To use Hawaiian terminology, it's a mixed bowl. You got Polynesians, Samoans, Filipinos. You got 40% close to 40% Japanese population before Pearl Harbor happens in the 1940s, folks. A lot of Chinese indentured slaves and servants, like one half of my family comes from. So you get a bunch of different mixes, and there you got a bunch of different martial arts. And the real ones wanted to test it, right? They actually want the pressure tested, which was arguably the fault. People like Frank Mir will say more eloquently than I. It's where the katas and stuff fall short. You're not putting it in real practice. You're not even really working a bag, much less sparring. And that's the big differentiator between traditional martial arts and more air quotes combat sports. But this was a nice medium. You had a lot of guys that actually incorporated grappling and submission holds into their traditional martial arts. A lot of these old school cats, even from the 60s and 70s and stuff. And they would go, and because what better than the drunk colonizers down in Chinatown. So they would just go scrap, and so there we go, a little history lesson there. I don't know how I got on that, but I was down there for William Gomez defeated Francis Marshall. Brady Heistan defeated Egger-Alekseeva. I was just walking down buying some stuff for the old Popo Doris there in Chinatown as well, so I didn't really watch any of those fights. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna choose, Parker, choose. Rio says in Truesdale in the house. Shouts. Gonna clean up the chat before I move on to Bellator Hawaii. Then we'll get to the breakdown here. Mark Fellows dance pronunciation of Jake Matthews. Little Australian there. Thanks. That coming from an Australian, that means a lot. Melbourne is accurate. Nice job, sir. Wow, look at that. Getting compliments on my accents, Mark Fellows. Now I don't want to speak. I'm going to fuck it up. Or anything like that. Rio says in Truesdale says, Third Reich is Duplessis. I've seen Jimmy say that on many chat rooms, and people weirdly get mad at him. I think it's the appropriate. I think so too. Apparently that Weasel guy is, really defensive of Third Reich. I think he would get mad too, from what it sounds like. Ghost Phantom in the house. Dan, good to see you. What's up? What's going on, my man? What is going on? Jimmy Kudo. What if Charles Oliveira and Gilbert Burns pull it off against tough matchups? I'd be happy for them both, but I'd also be sad for Bilal and Benil, because they're also both very deserving fighters. Jimmy Kudo, 158. I'd be down just because Oliveira and Burns are workhorses. Yeah, they are. Workhorses, war horses, all alike, sir. Last one, and I'll move on. Ghost Phantom. It's a shame, Dan, and I wholeheartedly agree. Fight promoters keep doing silly things with ridiculous matchups and nonsense, but fighters are getting better, and that's who we support. Yeah, got to do it as much as you can. Shouts to you guys. All right, we'll go 33 minutes Bellator Hawaii. So flew back into Bellator. I missed the open workouts, which looked fun and all, and was there on the ground. It was awesome to see some colleagues again, meeting new people, whether it was shout out to Matt Reeves, excellent photographer, seeing old familiar faces. Shout out to Billy Hull, listener of the Protect Your Neck podcast. People I respect, I don't know what they're doing listening to this podcast, but shouts to Billy. Shouts to my guy, of course, Rob DeMello, Robbie D. He's always a positive figure, positive presence, and a consummate pro as well. Nothing but smiles with the local guys, and shout outs to all the other local guys and gals who I met as well. I don't mean to miss out anybody's names, but me and my shout out fest, I tend to get here all day, as well as Bellator PR, always very accommodating, on the up and up. No complaints, man. Very just professional while still being kind of a laid back feel. In comparison to other places, I always honestly has nothing to do. No one's paying for my way out. No one's paying for nothing when I'm out there. Everything is above board. Professional lines are respected. I don't see any of these people outside of the event. So when I say that, I genuinely, props to the promotion, of the PR, to the guys helping run the show, like the Danny Brenners and the CJ Tuttles of the world. They're doing a great job, and I appreciate all the hard workers and the people that don't mention. It was great to see Burt Watson. I was watching, he's doing his speeches, and he's like, all right, baby. And when the lights go on, somebody's light's gonna go out. And I was just like watching, like Nikita Krylov was there for Sergey, the guy who fought. I think it was the guy who fought Terrell Fortune. But Nikita's an old school UFC guy, so he was there while Burt was still there, right? And everybody misses Burt's the man, right? Everybody misses we rolling, yeah. You know, like everyone loves that, right? Like the dude's been around since like Joe Frazier days, right? He's a living legend. And by the way, I'm late on the I Think You Should Leave, but I was absolutely dying. I was just messaging my girlfriend because she loves that show too. And we also giggle at the one of our favorite skits is the Buff Boy skits. Is look at these Buff Boys, look at this little brick shit house. Like I want to use that one, especially when someone like a bricked up bantamweight, like a Cody Stamen or something like weighs in. Like I want to use the gif of the guy going, look at that brick shit house, look at this brick shit house over there. What a crap! Look at that crap! What a crap! And I'm like, that essentially is like Burt Watson because like he MCs the Bellator weigh-ins, so he's over this. Like, yeah, come on, flex it for him, yeah. It's like I was just dying. I love it. I fucking love it. Again, you know, just extra character that the Bellator production allows for. You know, of course, you know we'll get to Saturday, but of course you got Ilima-Lei Macfarlane's walkout, which I feel bad asking about. I'm always like late on the next. I'm like on like the thing she was promoting the last time. And I really not just promoting stuff for the Hawaiian sovereignty, Hawaiian rights, land, multitude of Hawaiian related issues, but really bringing attention to the Stolen Sisters and just through her stories that she cited through schools like Punahou, I believe, which is like schools I've had family members go to. And whatnot, and you know, I come from a family with a lot of strong women, man. So just respect to Ilima-Lei, and I didn't get a chance to, I can't really express too much on media there, so I just wanted to at least express it somewhere, on my own show. And as she said, it's props to Bellator for allowing her to. And by the way, plenty of criticisms, like for any promotion, they're not beyond criticisms, but just pointing out some positives here. God forbid, right? But yeah, man. Props to Bellator for allowing her that. I sentiment her saying that. Bellator Hawaii recap. Popadoris went 2-0. Of course, she took the Hawaiian girls just $20 shots on Ilima-Lei at plus 120, and Sumiko Anaba minus 120. The second coming there, she passed a real tough test against Veta Arteaga. We'll pull those up right now, actually. Let's go results, because I'm pro and I had those up. Of course, Carmouche Bennett was the first night. Nate Diaz, by the way, I know you guys appreciated that, the audio version. We get more people. I know what you guys are thinking, because you're like, how is Nate Diaz? I recorded Thursday night, granted, but by Saturday, Nate was in New Orleans, right? So I wanted to try to get a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Protect Your Neck podcast exclusive with Nate Diaz here. Nate, are you there? What's up, motherfucker? Listen, man. I could have swore you were just hanging out with me, chopping it up, sorting out some, edibles like Halloween candy on Popadoris' coffee table while I was recording my podcast Thursday. So we can move on to with the Bellator breakdown here. What happened? Why don't you stick around for Bellator Hawaii? Well, why'd you go to New Orleans, man? Listen, I wasn't even fucking planning on even going there, dog, but your fucking Popadoris clean me the fuck out. Oh, you're gonna blame this on my Popadoris, Nate? Listen, motherfucker. Spinal stenosis. She fucking took like 900 milligrams to the bank, dog. Listen, Popadoris is crazy. It takes like a fucking horse tranquilizer to put that woman out, man. She's suffering. She's in pain. It's my grandma. I appreciate you helping her out, Nate, but you're really gonna pin this on her. I mean, come on, man. You can't pin it on a lady, Nate. That's not very Stockton. Maybe. Listen, dog. I had to go reload, and
to make it back before Yancey's fight. And next thing you know, I'm sitting cage side for some fucking punk ass Chase Demore. Throwing bottles, and you know how it goes from there. Yeah, we know how you and bottles go, Nate. Okay, so basically you're blaming this. You're blaming not just your fight, but missing Yancey's fight on my Popodorus. We're getting that straight. Listen, dog. Popo's an OG. All right, I appreciate the Mahomes future picks back a couple years ago, but listen. That woman is she does not pass the Dutchie to the left-hand side, all right? So she's no longer... But wow! Exiled Popodorus, or excommunicated, all right? Well, Jesus. Well, maybe, I don't know how much she's got longer, so I'll keep that from her, Nate. But thanks for the explanation. Good luck turning yourself in. Stockton, what? All right, audio listeners, that was for you, where I look like a fucking idiot, more than usual on video. But yeah, I wanted to get Nate's reaction there, why he wasn't at Bellator Hawaii. But thankfully, his bets came through. He bet while he was there. He put a unit on Carmouche, plus 135, which I put in my Action Network app again. Daniel Tom, the Action Network app. I even though I haven't been and will continue to not be as least active as I need to. Every once in a while, I see something that just infuriates me as I'm trying to see if any fights get canceled. And I'm trying to even find ways around that so I don't get drawn in any stupid engagement on Twitter. But you can always check for my bets there. And then as soon as what's her name missed weight, it was even more. Oof. It was even more problematic, right? I was like, oh wow, okay, well even more so, she's probably gonna get it, but. As we saw with the fight, it actually started looking bad. Where I was like, "Oh my goodness," because Bellator is essentially it's kind of like their own traveling commission there, so they kind of, they're obviously not going to get too wild, right? They're pros there. They're making sure that they're double checking their work. They're making sure prior precedents have been set, and so on and so forth. But basically, they're able to take the same liberties as the UFC does, but the way it seems is, in situations like this, they get a little more flexible with it. And we've seen UFC do this too, again, in their own versions of it, albeit different. Charles Oliveira, Gaethje, the title's up for one person, kind of a deal. With Joe Benavidez, Davison Figueiredo, there's variations of these sort of things. But yeah, Liz really wanted to make it a title fight. She obviously was very principally driven, as you could hear in the post-fight interview. And she gambled, and it was just, it turned out like, oh no, are we getting one of those weird Liz Carmouche performances? Like, she's been really coming into her own, right, recently. But oh no, are we getting one of those weird ones again? And it really looked like that. And thankfully for anybody who bet on her, on the inside the distance, she was able to pull the upset as Deanna Bennett, who had some funny deep throat jokes that really pissed Carmouche off. Apparently, the presser fell short there. Anything else worthy? I was so overexposed, and just out of principle, I wanted to encourage Nate Diaz to bet Tim Johnson. As I twitch there, twitch wink. And I wish I did, even though Nate still came up on top anyways. Probably would have set us up for the weekend. But yeah, that one went actually, if you even read my quick picks and prognostications, it was going to be a competitive decision where Johnson's volume and forward pressure, even if he's not more effective or clean like the counters Soma was going to be landing, it was going to be up in the air between that. So, but it was unanimous, but still played out very similar how I called that one. Sarah McMahon looked good. Stayed away from that one, defeating Arlene Blenko. Looked really emotional, which I nothing wrong with that. Just I was like, oh, I wonder if she was retiring or just she really took some shots and really competitive. But she got engaged and was all smiles walking around the hotel the next night. So that was always good to see. Happy endings, nonetheless. There, Levon Cho-Kelly defeaed Lombardo. Call for the opposite. Oh, Sabatello defeated Breno by unanimous decision. How I thought. Kylie Smota defeated Ken Cross. Didn't watch this one too close. He was kind of jumping back and forth. Tyrell Fortune defeated Sergey Belostine with a DQ. Yeah, I get that. I tweeted in the people behind me in press box, but it's hard because you could say like the warnings aren't very clear because even to us it's like you really got to see the replay and listen because sometimes it can come off as a move fighter move instead of a warning, and in the heat of the moment if we're thinking that, how does it feel for the fighters themselves that are actually in the heat with the adrenaline going? Chris Lencioni defeats Blake Smith. Oh, that was a tough one. I told you guys about the weigh-in story in the last podcast. How you almost got away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids, and like now that costs him extra because he doesn't get his win bonus either, and got the fine when he only missed by a point. Whereas Lencioni actually missed big. Lencioni was talking to us about moving up to lightweight. Maybe he will. I told Chris, I'm like, I know there'll be guys bigger than you, but you wouldn't be a small lightweight, that's for sure, bud. Sharaf Delvaladmirov defeating Anthony Adams. Don't know much about that. We'll go to a Bellator 295. 45 minutes. Bellator 95. Results there. Of course, that was headlined by Stotts versus Mix for the $1 Million Grand Prix. Unification of an interim title, however you want to put that. Either way, it's a title. It's an impressive win. It's $1 million. And set up for some big fights is Patchy Mix. If you look at my story, it was kind of crazy on Instagram, Dan Tom MMA, because the way my story goes, I was giving you guys the backstage of, again, the classic Burt Watson walk, the Bellator version of it now, back in the legendary Blaisdell. And you see, it was just weird. It was like a dream, like just Stotts is like, look, it's a side profile, and he's just looking. His music's playing. He just starts walking out, and the guy's like, this way, and he kind of just walks out like, And then it's just a smash cut to confetti Pride style. He just got knocked out. Patchy Mix has got his hands up, getting $1 million. Just, fucking crazy, I had a really good view of that knockout too. It was super clean. Super clean. Mix is a big bantamweight. He's serious. Looking forward to seeing more. Trains out of Extreme Couture. But it's also, tough because, Nate Pettit in that corner. You also have my guy Eric Nixick in the other corner with Stotts, right? And, they have a genuine relationship. It's not just $1 million in the loss, which obviously suck for everybody, especially Stotts, obviously, first and foremost. But the genuine relationship, as popular as Eric is, as popular as the gym is, you don't exactly see him whoring himself out there, for a reason, and he's spoken about this, and it makes sense. You gotta, I would be suspect if he or anybody is, or anybody who does do that, where they're just everywhere, you don't want to overextend yourself. So he's got a good relationship with these guys. So of course it's a, agony and, whatever the UFC that saying is, but yeah. And I hate bothering anybody in general, but still made sure to fire a text off because, somebody said, in the media, at first I was always afraid to text fighters after losses and stuff, but, you realize, that's the time sometimes when they need it the most, and I try to keep that same energy with friends or coaches and supporting cast and crew members as well. So congrats on one side, and condolences and best wishes on the other. We had, let's see here, of course, the co-main event. You had Ilima McFarland versus Kana Watanabe. People were upset about that. I don't know if it was because they were betting. They were getting at me, and I wasn't even saying I scored it one way. If anything, I if I were to put out a score, which I didn't, I thought we were getting 29-28 Watanabe, and that's what people felt a little better about it, including the Hawaiian press for the hometown cooking crowd. And it was no Hawaiian judges. It was all traveling judges who did a fantastic job. Again, we criticize these judges. We got to give them credit. Even guys who I end up being on the opposite side of, and he was the dissenting judge here, Derek Cleary, still had a very defensible scorecard, obviously, because he was on the Watanabe side. I get it. But the other scorecards were very defensible, too. And even before they were read, I cited specifically Ryan Bader versus Valentin Moldavsky. It was a 5-round fight as opposed to a 3, but it was the same dynamic. You're tied up going into the late round, and it's very little strikes and very momentary, not fully established takedowns with a lot of pushing up the cage control versus short bursts of strikes in space and a lot of elbows and body knees with the back to the fence. But there were also some hard, if you're looking at my screen, I'm drawing on the blank on the kind of Muay Thai elbow it is. It's almost like that side knee. You're using that side elbow. It's not an upward elbow, a slicing elbow. It looks like you're finishing that way, but you're almost like hooking with it. You're hitting with that inside of your elbow. Those are really hard and damaging. Bader has one in the last 30 seconds, and so does Alimale. And in a tight round where you're juggling those two dynamics, that could be enough to sway you. Did I think she was going to get it? No, personally, I did not. But according to the rule, the criteria, previous precedences, and, what we've seen before in that very same organization, not that matters, but yeah, I wasn't going to be surprised if it did go to Alima, and it did. And it really, and I get what it looks like. That kind of a decision. It's a cheeky decision, certainly. And it's certainly in front of a home crowd. She is the home attraction, so you're going to get that no matter what, right? So, yeah. Yancy Medeiros defeated Charlie Leary. Charlie Leary here. You defeated Charlie Leary. Charlie Leary. Charlie Leary looked like he was pretty good at going second in exchanges, but really looked like he liked to strike and got rocked like in every fight, win or lose. And Medeiros' submission was live, but maybe Nate knew something that we don't, because Nate Diaz, air quotes, ended up betting Medeiros with that plus 210 by KO. Just looked too tempting. And if that would have hit, it would have saved our night. I was like, oh, it's going to hit. I was going to hit for Nate. Not me, of course, being professional. And press booth. We do not cheer and press booth. But yeah, at a certain point, I was like, he's going to get a submission. At a certain point, when someone's just flaring, they're eventually just going to grab it and get it, or grab it and fail at a certain point. The TKO is out the window. They could be as crazily on skates. If at a certain point, they're just still not getting it, it's funneled to a miraculous survival, or a submission. And it was the latter. Aaron Pico defeated James Gonzalez via unanimous decision. So it was weird. I kind of hinted. I don't like to do this because, again, no inside. I'm not an inside info person. I'm not. It's not my style. You certainly won't see me getting a. I don't know. Anyone can investigate me, I'm sure, but you certainly see me won't be getting caught because there's nothing to catch. But yeah, man. I don't think there's anything against, and I've heard other journalists saying, somebody seems off maybe, as opposed to saying someone seems confident, right? We're allowed to, and have said both those things. And something seemed off with Aaron Pico, even to the point where he was limping and walking funny. He just seemed stiff both days. And then come weigh in on Friday, he even, and I got a little bit of it on my story even. I didn't say anything. I just got the tail end of this interaction on my story, where you see him walking funny up to the scale, and he kind of holds it together for the scale. And he still just kind of seems stiff. And I don't know if this is how just Pico walks. Maybe he's a horse dude. Do all horse dudes walk like that? But even Scott Coker, I'm not the best lip reader, but I pride myself on doing and trying that. But even just his gestures, Scott's actually gesturing to the leg, and Pico is gesturing to his own leg, and like kind of telling him a story. And I was like, holy shit. So if it seemed like I was hinting toward anything, it's just like, oh wow, like, that might have been it. But although that actually happened after I recorded the podcast. So yeah, I definitely thought something might be there. So just as a hedge, just because Pico just seems crazy, right? Like his fights just seem fucking just something nuts always seems attached to him. Like, give me the James Gonzalez submission for a stupid number, at a small price that I didn't notice. Didn't. Pico still looked good, man. Damn good timing. Obviously the body shots, and he was like posting up in the clinch. I do wonder if that was part of it. Maybe I didn't see things in my defense. Part of me was like, I felt crazy stupid because watching live, I'm like, this guy looked great. But at the same time, he was kind of like posting his head in almost as a balance point and using that to lever his punches, right? Instead of his actual feet and his knees. So maybe I wasn't crazy for noticing something there. He did do a quick turnaround. Anyways, he gets by. Mads Brunell gets by with some real technical excellence on the ground, using some of my favorite stuff, the under the ass technique with a deep half game. Because, and he admits it too, if people are going to get the jump on him, it's probably going to be early as opposed to late. I know Brunell gassed out on his last fight, but he had a terrible weight cut, terrible stuff that he was dealing with, of course. And he's not one to make excuses, and I'm not one to blow up somebody's spot when they tell me something in confidence. So the best way you could speak, and now is to kind of go out and show that. And I believe showed it even more the fact that he did hit some turbulence against Justin Gonzalez, who is not just a good record, a good fighter. A much more dangerous matchup than I think people realize this was, and Mads knew that. And like Mads said, if there is going to be a round where he's going to hit turbulence, it's actually going to be an early one because he's more like that Anderson Silva style. He likes to kind of try to get his reads in that first round for his countering and counter punching style. Ends up being a grappling fight. That's where the path of resistance ends up being, at least a resistance. And it was great because it was moves you saw him try to go in previous matchups where he had the bad cut and whatnot, and was able to really just show stuff he was working, showing that it does work. He does work. He is a great fighter. One of my favorites to watch, bias aside. So shouts to him. Dennis Davis, unheralded coach. By the way, Dennis Davis MMA. Hopefully working toward being less unheralded because my man is actually getting out there on the socials, something that both he and I and many others need to be better about, right? Usually the best teachers aren't the best businessman, and he is a fantastic fucking teacher. He fought Nate Diaz back in the day. That's right, I know Dennis Doc. Like, yeah, Dennis is an OG and on the best of the ways. And he has lots of quick little tutorials. Some recent ones with a Hawaii backdrop. Follow Dennis Davis MMA. But yeah, it was nice to see my guy Mads get the win. Also nice to see my guy Kai Kamaka get the win, defeating Adley Edwards via unanimous decision. Kind of got to show everything in this fight. So it was just a great performance. Really happy for Kai Boy in front of his family and friends over there at the Blaisdell. Sumiko Inaba, really liked her, man. She just fights beyond her years. I want to see more of the ground game, obviously, but just really impressed. Really fights beyond her years. Switching stances, never at a loss for idea, no matter the stance or the range. Her team is small and tight, but they're doing a good job. Curious on the wrestling and jiu-jitsu, obviously, but Vida Ortega is like the Bellator female Diego Sanchez over there, so that was a good test for her to get over. Alan Cruz did not look like he was going to beat Bobby King, not Bobby King Green, Hawaiian Bobby King, keeping with the Bellator tradition of if you have a name that sounds like somebody, we will sign you. But Alan Cruz comes back from a tough round. He looked like he had a tough cut, too, to 155. And just looking at the size of Alan Cruz, I'm like, how did this guy ever make 45? I'll get to the chat cleanup. Just going to clean up this last results here. Davion Franklin defeated Kasim Aras via unanimous decision. Bruna Ellen defeated Ilara Joani via unanimous decision. And Masayuki Kikyori defeated Alexei Shurkovich via KO punch. It was a beautiful KO. Happened pretty much in the same location where Mix and Stotts, I believe, to my position was. So it was really, really cool. Maybe on the rewatches, you guys can see me watching. See me, my Joe Rogan head, Joe Roganing. I was like right behind Hoist Gracie most of the time. But yeah, shouts out to all the Hawaiian locals. Mainly, shout out to the MVP of the night, this night. My guy, Eric Stinton. Follow Eric Stinton, support his work. Excellent writer. Not in MMA, mainly for Hawaii, man. Civil Beat, amongst other outlets, any outlet, any source, whether it's him as a teacher, him as a writer, just a solid human being, came to the rescue with some Olaf iced Thai coffee. I haven't had Thai coffee in forever. I am just happy with like cheap black stuff is what I usually drink, but if you were talking about iced coffee, Thai coffee's my favorite. It was fantastic. It could have been shit, and I would have been just as grateful. It was not. It was good. He was like an angel. He was like a biracial angel. He was my biracial angel coming out of the stands. Appreciate you, sir. Just a fine, handsome, well written, and well mannered gent. Eric Stinton, ladies and gentlemen, the fucking man. Got to give him a shout there. All right. Where do we get toward Bellator 58? All right, 58. We'll do chat cleanup here, and then we'll get to the breakdown. There we go. James Kendrick. What's up, James Kendrick? We know your Nate Diaz impression is good, but what about your Nick Diaz one? I don't have a Nick Diaz one. Nick Diaz one is me getting on all the 90% of the girls' Instagram feeds that I follow and just jumping on their stories holding a shot up in the air. That is the I felt like I was seeing Nick Diaz more there than on my MMA feeds at a certain point. Not even lying, folks. Jimmy Kudo, do you think Oliveira versus Dariush is like Chris Gutierrez versus Edgar on bad matchmaking? No, different style, but I'm not a fan of either of those two. He says, where they could have done Cruz versus Edgar. Yes, the fight that I've been calling for since late 2015. God damn. Where neither would get seriously hurt, but people would love. Yeah, God forbid, right? And actually would fill out their cards. Yeah, I agree. Rio says in Truesdale, if Patchy and Stotts train in the same gym, then that would be weird for Nixick, right? Yes, but they don't. It was really brief. Stotts is based over at Houston with Yves Edwards now. And Nixick will go over and do kind of like training sessions there for the gym and him and others. And Yves Edwards is a fantastic coach, and they got a good staff there. So that's how that works. Yeah, and Mix has made his home over at Extreme Couture, and everybody's professionals at the end of the day. So, yep, that's not as difficult. Jimmy Kudo, Dan would love this, but in 2020, the Drake Riggs podcast for MMA, we would fanboy over Kana Watanabe. Yeah, Kana is the frying pan bender. Watanabe. Okay, that's awesome. Ghost Phantom, I don't know about you, but Pico's strategy of level changing, going up to the clinch, and breaking with elbows was really impressive. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Ghost Phantom says, posting on the head in the clinch along the fence, using body shots, and breaking with elbows, just fantastic. Yo, it is, absolutely. He goes, ads, and you gotta love the deep half with the underhook under the butt. That's right, from ads. All right. Pushing on, 101. Hour in, baby. Hour in. UFC Vegas 72, UFC Fight Night 223. So I give it a retweet. UFC Fight Night Song versus Simon Vato. UFC Fight Night Yadong versus Simon Vato. There we go. It's going down here at the Las Vegas Apex. Got odds up. This match, this fight card is no offense to the fighters, of course, but yeah, it's not great. A lot of impromptu fights, a lot of cancellations. So I will cover what I have to cover, but I kind of just went to the fights that I wanted to get to, which is usually only half the main card, and the other half I begrudgingly do because it probably shouldn't be on there. Let's be honest. And the inevitable flyweight and lighter weight fights that are probably the best fights on the card that they inevitably bury in the prelims. And don't give me that shit. We need to bring attention to it's all on the same broadcast. It's all on ESPN Plus. It's all guaranteed money. They don't need to bring nothing nowhere. It's ultimate filling content. There is no excuse for this. Let's stop. Stop the excuses. Stop. Even on the pay-per-view. Stop. No excuses. Anyways, but we're going to get to it. Let's see here. We got Song Yadong, plus 100. Ricky Simon Vato Simon Holmes, minus 120. Opened a little wider, coming in tighter. Don't mind that. Regardless of who you favor or should favor or you think should be favored, I think we should all agree this should be coming toward pick'em lines, and that's where it should ultimately stay. Both these fighters deserve that respect. Both these fighters are dangerous. Both these fighters have potent pathways to victory. Of course, Songs is one we've seen. Like I said, not just a guy with the wrestling edge use his edge, but the danger of the guy with the wrestling edge striking is, even though Simon Vato has improved his striking like Blades, he, like Blades, even though fighting more from the orthodox stance, whether he punctuates with the jab, whether he's prodding, whether he's feinting, which he's better at, and he definitely needs to do more of, the safer option of the three. He works off a jab, and you know who else works off a jab well? Again, like Sergey Pavlovich does off the counter, more so Song Yadong. In fact, Simon, despite only being knocked out once, which feels like it's been more because he's been rocked, countered particularly by being jabs, all the way going back from wins like against Montel Jackson to losses outside the UFC to Anderson Dos Santos, which ended up being a club and sub. So it may feel like he's been rocked more than the actual one knockout loss, but the one knockout loss comes to, that's right, Uriah Faber. Not just Uriah Faber, Song Yadong's teammate Uriah Faber, not just Song Yadong's teammate Uriah Faber, Song Yadong's teammate Uriah Faber, who in his post-fight speech after that fight said, I actually learned that from our brand new Chinese prospect we just got in the gym. His name is Song Yadong, and he taught me that jab counter, and it worked perfectly for this fight. So, I mean, game, set, match, never in this game, but goddamn is the blueprint drawn up. What else are you going to draw up? That is Song Yadong's game. It's proven to work against Ricky Simón. Against less prime athletes, albeit more experienced fighters in favor. So, your immediate inclination, especially coming off of, whether you picked him or not, seeing the more reliable wrestler absolutely refuse to use it in the small cage and get starched, I feel like that has a lot of us leaning, and certainly my initial reactions had me leaning toward easy Song for this fight. But I'm not trying to make the low-hanging fruit, but for what it's worth, messaging my girlfriend to make this weekend's graphic, I have to send her, it's Song versus Simon, but I got to send her the full name so she can reference her own images to build a banner, right? And I was like, oh, am I going to get a joke about Yadong, right? And what's the low-hanging fruit? And me and my girlfriend have a similar sense of humor, which is probably why we're with each other, right? But she also listens. She keeps her phone on an Australian Siri, and she just messaged me. She goes, "Song Yadong's name sounded funny with Siri telling it to me in an Australian accent." It's an Australian girl that speaks, so that was kind of funny, I guess. But for the low, there, your bingo card, low hanging Yadong joke. There it is. But low hanging Yadong, not the worst thing in the world, though. Am I right, guys? Anyways, Jesus, Dan. Listen, I labeled Yadong as explosive. I'm trying to balance that out. You know what I'm saying? I feel like black athletes, whether it's true or not, get unfairly you use that descriptor in sports analogies. Like, he's so explosive. Like, can you talk about his skill, please? Maybe it's not just athletic. Like, the guy's actually skillful. Whereas Asians, no matter how fucking athletic and good we are, he's so unassuming. When I threw a 6'3" guy in his head in the cobblestone driveway of Encore when I worked security and proceeded to choke him out after he took out 2 of our security officers. Again, I'm 5'9", and everybody once was giant. Just on that alone, yes, I am unassuming. But god damn it, yeah, you bet your ass. We didn't expect you to do it, Tom. You're unassuming. All right, I didn't have glasses on back then either. Didn't look as nerdy. It's in better shape too. Doesn't matter. We are unassuming every time. So god damn it, you bet your ass if I'm gonna have a good excuse to call Asian a fucking explosive athlete. Gotta balance the scales, baby. Gotta balance the scales. All right, but yeah, I actually so it's gonna be real dangerous. That being said, unlike the heavyweight fight last time, this is bantamweight where people actually use multiple skills. And Ricky Simón has shown that he can actually fight from the outside a little better. Can he get countered with the leg kicks that are going to be there for him, like Alejandro Turbo Perez did? I hope not, but it could happen. Sure, it could happen. But ultimately, even though seeing Song in the first 7 minutes to 2 rounds, 7 to 10 minutes, ice Ricky Simón off a jab is very, very possible. But if he doesn't, Song Yadong flags and fights, even fights not at the most torrid paces, and Ricky Simón is an unheralded 5-round fighter. He's got wins over Merab Dvalishvili, Montel Jacksons, that have aged very well, and he's only gotten better himself since then. And I think this could really be a coming out party for him. He is a potent finisher in multiple ways. We are in the small cage, so I am going to go with Simón. I don't have it written down. I was going to try to get some better numbers, but God forbid. But no, you know me. I'm going to be doing the normal thing that even though I'll probably get better numbers at BetMGM, who is listing stuff online, but of course through the mobile app, I'm not allowed to bet certain props or anything yet. They're going to probably make me wait till tomorrow until they're all fucking bet the shit. But it'll still be better numbers than what I'm actually getting. I'm going to tell you guys what I'm going to be sticking to on this podcast on my record as I do. I don't shift. I don't hedge. I don't fudge. I get my shitty numbers and I stick to them. With all the bad breaks and bad luck not even included, folks. So, all right. I know you don't care. I care. Clearly, I care more than I should. But yeah, let me pull it up for you. The main play is the under. I feel like this could be probably the best bet in hindsight. We'll see. Knock on wood. Oh, Dan, yes, yeah. Best bet of the card, like Rick Glenn, Dan. Like, all right, easy. But under 4.5 rounds is just a great coverage bet no matter what it is. Obviously, if you get a decent number. This is a decent number at playable chalk, minus 135, more than playable chalk. I put 2 units on it to cover my round flyers because, again, I believe the unders will cover multiple forms of finishes by both parties. But I also sprinkled Ricky Simon Vato in rounds 3, 4, and 5. I am tempted to do it by submission, but I don't want to do overexposure. Maybe I wait to see how my night's going, and then I add them because even though I won't get the best lines if I wait, like I just said, when do I ever get good lines / the best lines fucking anyways? And B, those lines are stupid high. Am I really going to notice at that point? And if I'm in a position to sprinkle and not feel it in free rolling, I'll just be grateful enough to be in that position after being a fucking, stuck in the shower rooms of American History X for my betting career the last year and a half, so it feels. Great visual there, Dan. But yeah, I took Simon Vato in rounds, let's see here. Round 3 plus 1,400, round 4 plus 1,800, round 5 plus 2,500, all 0.17 units for, an extra, 2 units and change, 3 units and change, if they hit. So that's what I like. And if they don't, well, those get paid for, and I probably still get over a unit if Song knocks them out in the appropriate rounds. So that's what I got for that fight. Next, we've got Kyle Bohio, minus 375. Egger-Alekseijczuk, plus 290. I mean, anything close to 3-1 on Egger-Alekseijczuk, you could just bet small, take a shot, throw a unit on it for all I care. You don't owe anybody an explanation. It's your money. But from a value and principle perspective, you don't owe anybody an explanation. Is it because he was opened as the favorite and got bet to a dog in one of those scenarios? No, but that would qualify, yes. No, it's just because it's just kind of a stupid number, and I'm a guy who likes Bohio, but I hate, even when I do like, even the actual good fighters that come out of Contender Series, for even us as jaded as the series we are, you got to give credit to the many good fighters that have come out of there. Shout out to my guys, Dan Ige, of course, like those dudes like there, Billy Quarantine, Billy Quarantilla. I don't even know if Billy Quarantine did, but I still love Billy Quarantine. I'm going to keep that same energy. Well, yeah, Kyle Bohio, not that I was super high on him. Actually, I wasn't. People gave me shit for giving him like a C on one of his, like against Aaron Jeffrey, which was just kind of not a great fight. But yeah, like he's got some talent, some ceiling if he just uses it, and I think he's due to use it, right? Is he going to make hay with the back positions, or is he going to continue to fall off going for triangles and subs like he's done in the last fights when he's gotten those positions? That being said, it's a guy like Egger-Alekseijczuk who can get submitted, as we've seen from the Von Prus and so on, from some stuff that's a lower percentage or you don't see as much, right? He is that guy, so maybe normal Kyle Bohio can still get the sub. The more urgency Kyle Bohio that I think we're all hoping for would definitely get it. But again, I'm hating these numbers. They're inflating these fucking lines. And, again, he's been subbed, so this is a bad example. But it kind of like reminds me of that Yanez only like plus 180 to knock out Rob Font. The guy's never been fucking knocked out before. It was a huge step up. I was picking Yanez by knockout, but even I was like, whoa. That line deserves to be. I know it got bet down a little bit, but even from its opener, like, what the fuck is going on with these lines? Like, too good, I guess. I'm like, you're taking all the fun out of it. Like, I don't even want to bet the sub line now. You're not even putting enough fucking juice in the bone. Plus 120. Insert Dan Tom Jerkoff GIF here in case you missed the video and you're only listening on audio. Yeah, I hate it, and I get it. Mikhail, this is what this matchup calls for. But I just hate these numbers, and you're going to inflate this fucking guy's money line. I know. Over $1 of it is from public side. Odd setters, in their defense, if you can defend them in this case, at least opened it south of 3-1. Granted, still, 2.5.5 to 1, pretty much, minus 250 odds there. Yeah, I hate it. But I do think the small cage and Alekseijczuk's consistent aggression will force to bring the best out of him. And, say what you will about Alekseijczuk's aggression. Well, you know what you're going to get with him if you are trying to justify playing him at the 3-1 because it's a stupid price. I don't blame you. Again, my middle ground here is I'm going to look to, again, I'm probably going to get fucking limited. I probably won't be able to do Simone round 3, but if they let me do maybe Simone by submission, I don't know, because I'm going to be doing Borralho by submission for the round robin. That's my way to get in on things, if it's a dog that you're picking a dog, you need to play him, but I'm really trying to be exercise bankroll management, really not trying to overexpose myself, right? Like a flasher sitting outside of Sunday school, not trying to be in that game, trying to keep the exposure low. Jesus, Dan, stop. Enough with that. What are you going to do, a David Carradine joke again? Yeah, like, let me throw it in the round robin, and instead I played the under. Minus 165 is still rich for my blood. Of course, minus 159 is more than justified, and that's what the article goes down, because that's what you guys can grab. Not me, though. Not me. No. The best line I could get from my own bets was minus 165. But not only is that close enough if I want to really reach and do some gymnastics here to justify my neighborhood, which it is in the neighborhood, I guess, of minus 150, my typical playable chalk that I like to cut myself out of. Me, I'm not of a parlay at chalk guy. I'm much more of a big plus money, throwing darts, looking for some dreaded word value. Shout out to Joey Odessa there. Don't jinx me. But yeah, like it's close to the minus 150 mark, and it opened at pretty much 2-1. I believe it opened at minus 195, so it essentially opened at 2-1. We're getting a near 50-cent discount on the line. It's still within playable chalk, or close enough to that neighborhood. Give me that. I think that's what this matchup's going to be. We just need a finish. All the weird stuff that can happen with a Egger-Alekseijczuk. I mean, he's only a couple steps shy of a fucking, E1 cute lava fight as far as the wackiness between these dudes. So, the pick's going to be Borralho by submission in round 2. Or maybe even round 1 by the end of round 1. But yeah, I'm on the under minus 165 at 1.65 units for a unit return, and I'll probably throw Borralho in a round robin if they allow me. Next fight, Cody Brundage plus 190, Rodolfo Vieira minus 250. Even though it's just enough, and again, shouts to some of my friends that are middleweights and stuff, and Julian Marquez, friend of the podcast. Not trying to shit on middleweights here, folks. It's just the matchmakers obsessive out with like shoving us the big man fight when we got fucking actual meaningful flyweight fights down on the prelims. But yeah, this one Brundage, I don't know how well built he is because he seems to get hurt. But aside from the durability that could be suspect, I'm not saying is, saying could be. Wishing him the best here. Nothing personal. Aside from that, this dude seems to have the absolute dog in him. Could he get taken down in the small cage against the superior submission fighter who I should be backing here? Absolutely, man. But Rodolfo Vieira is not very inspiring. A lot of cancellations, coming off an injury that he himself admit was hard to get off of. Careful, Dan. Remember the last Brazilian, Edson Barbosa, coming off an injury. He looked fucking fresh as a daisy. True, Edson Barbosa is a warhorse fighter, though, and that was my mistake, speaking of giving and not giving the Brazilian warhorses enough respect. As much as I'm going to pump my chest out for keeping the same energy for my love for Billy Q, doesn't mean I don't have love for Edson B. It doesn't mean I was not in the wrong there. I was. But I don't know if that's Rodolfo V, right? Rodolfo V, he's a jiu-jitsu OG. If, maybe he'll get to that point, sure. But MMA, even the improvements, he just looks like he's happy to get through these rounds, that despite getting the win in that Dustin Stolfus fight, I looked a lot at that because Stolfus is not a big middleweight, maybe a slightly more crafty grappler than Brundage, but not as good of a wrestler. And looking at the positions he was able to do and get to, I don't think Vieira is going to be able to do as well against Brundage, and I definitely think Brundage is going to be able to do a lot better than Stolfus. In a lot of those transitionary positions, especially from the front headlock where he was losing a lot of it. Whereas Brundage, he's really strong from a front headlock. Even when he's butts up against the fence, he doesn't have the most leverage, right? It's not the ideal front headlock where you can really sprawl behind. He still finds ways to both defend takedowns and really sprawl behind there. If you look when he's getting taken down from those spots, it's usually because he's willing going for a Kimura or a guillotine. And even on those, he'll get close on the guillotine, or he was able to sweep with 1 out of 2 of the Kimuras. Credit to Maximov, able to adjust to the second one that he dropped down for. And again, bad mistakes that he doesn't want to make against Vieira. And when he does get to the ground, Brundage will turtle and give his back like a lot of wrestlers. Again, a guy like Adolfo Vieira, especially you see that back take against the aforementioned Stolfus in round 3. We're in the small cage again. Could that happen? Absolutely. But there's plenty of guys that have turtled to Vieira, and he hasn't necessarily been game over, including Stolfus previously in previous parts of that fight. And I think Brundage is going to be able to defend from there. Factory X really underrated with the wrestling preparation and overall MMA preparation. Mark Montoya, one of my more favorite coaches. I love hearing him in the corner. Rear tower. Rear tower. I know it sounds like I'm making fun of him. Actually, I'm a big fan of Mark Montoya. And massive props for him pulling through with the cancer there. But yeah, man, like, you know, we're seeing improvements there. Maybe not defensively, you know, could still use some, because again, he's not the kind of guy I want to see taking hits against any kind of a modicum of a decent hitter. Definitely not playing Cody Brundage, probably not even picking him, right? But Vieira, he's strong. He can hit harder than, you know, given credit for. Has held a count in victory and defeat in some of these fights, perhaps better than given credit for. But again, not a knockout puncher, not known for that. Doesn't have that mean streak in him as a fighter. You listen to the guy talk, the way he fights, and it almost started tricking people. You know, Eric Nixon got to get on Chris Curtis and remind him, dude, don't fall into that shit. We're not friends with this guy. You know, he's really got that, hey, my friend, jiu-jitsu, it's okay. We don't have to hurt each other to compete, strangle you. It's okay. No, we're friends. It's good. I'm losing you now, so we're friends. Hey, come into my guy. Like, you know, he's got a bit of that. You know, I'm not trying to be offensive, but those of you who compete know exactly what I mean. And I probably lean more toward that spectrum, if anything. It's more of a, you know, I don't know if I'm as friendly. I'm probably just more weird and we'll say weird shit and just try to get, like, the person to laugh or something. But, like, it's like a diffusing thing. It gets you, you know, kind of like why Kevin Holland talks. It's actually because he's really uncomfortable in there. It's a way to make him comfortable, arguably, just as much as it is to make the other person uncomfortable. But, yeah, I just don't trust that. The layoff, they were scheduled to fight before, so Brundage has been prepped for this guy. All the big guys have been in, from Jacoby, Anthony Smith, so on and so forth. There's been just like all the big guys up in Factory X. So it just sounds like everything's like clicking for him. We got to forget too, Brundage is only 27, 28, turning 28 this month maybe even. But he's at that stage where, you know, he might not be impressive on paper, like technically, but he's at that stage where he's going to develop, whereas Vieira is 33 going on 34, but it's got the jiu-jitsu miles. Again, most of his time is in the grappling and whatnot. So it's a little tricky, you know. Is he a fighter? Brundage is a wrestler, but he's also definitely a fighter. He's not just a wrestler, right? He's definitely got the fighting gene in him. So I don't know, man. I ended up taking a shot on Brundage. I don't got a lot of dogs I like in general lately too, so maybe that plays into it. But again, I was able to find him at 2-1. You're pretty much able to find him near 2-1. You don't have to take a unit shot on him like I did, which I did. But I also did Brundage round 2 and round 3 sprinkles. Again, same dynamic. If he can get past, he could easily get sub. But if he doesn't, rounds 2 and 3 are going to be it. And rounds 1 is usually the toughest round for him when he's rocked in victory or defeat, like against Dolce in those weird spots. Like, all that stuff's in round 1. So round 1 seems to be his trouble round. So, yeah, I mean, maybe he wins a decision. And, again, Vieira, he's a guy who feels like he could, drop off at any point at the same time. He's a dog in there, and he's got maybe underrated survivability. But, again, he's also a dude, if he were to drop off at a certain point in the fight, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't expect a round 1, that being said, but again, round 2, round 3, I think those are fine. And at plus 1,000, I believe, for round 2, and plus 1,600. So one is 170, the other is 270. So 1.7 units or 2.7 units extra if he wins in those rounds. And a clean 2 units clean. If he wins anyway, Cody Brundage. Give it to me. I know. I'm going against the superior grappler. Maybe not the superior wrestler, though, so maybe not completely going against my thing there. Do not get a chance to look at Fernando Padilla. Apologies if I mispronounced that name. Money coming in on him, though he's still an underdog at plus 115. My guy, Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Julian-Erosa minus 140. I'm pretty overexposed, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of cheeky Julian-Erosa kind of play in the round robin. Like, shoot, if he gets near pick'em, maybe I could just throw him in there straight up. But I'll look in this closer, and if the method I end up going with is viable, or I'm not, maybe I'll go for it. But it's hard. I can't say. I mean, I'd have to be really impressed by Fernando, and really impressed considering that he's been coming off of visa issues and all sorts of stuff. We have no idea how he's going to look. So this is kind of a fight you should stay away from, to be honest. And in that case, maybe it justifies the dog price, but this much, to the point where you're going to give this much of a discount on a Julian-Erosa line, is this Padilla guy a first-round finisher, a puncher kind of a deal? Because that is the majority of times of how, unless you knock out Julian-Erosa again in that first round, he is going to find his way through that. Similar, more experienced, more versatile version of what I was just speaking of with Cody Brundage, I guess. More potent. But yeah, do not be surprised to see me side with Extreme Couture, Juicy J, bias embedded there. Waldo Cortez Acosta plus 150, Marcos Rogerio de Lima minus 185. Why the fuck is this matchup happening? Who the fuck cares? And why the fuck is it on the main card? Seriously, how is this here before Charles Johnson and Cody Durden? What the fuck are we doing? Why do we have to have big guys? Oh, God. And really, am I really going to be picking Marcos Rogerio de Lima, Flo Rida, welcome to my house, you don't even know, fall into submission? That guy who I almost auto-bet all his opponents by sub. From what I remember from Waldo-Flo Rida, he is a former baseball player who likes to just throw ugly overhands off of a jab and stymie opposition at distance and make for pretty boring fights from what I remember. So yeah, I am not looking forward to this. I am not even excited to try to find an angle to fade Marcos Rogerio, and I sure as shit ain't excited to pick Marcos Rogerio at almost 2-1 chalk on a main fucking card. God help me and anybody. God help anybody who cares and wants to play this fight. If you're their family members, of course you should care on their team. You know what I mean. I know I sound like a dick. Trey Waters stepping in short notice, plus 150. Josh Quinlan, minus 185. I'll get a Southpaw report posted, by the way, but there's not much. Southpaw versus Kyle Borralho. Kyle Borralho 0-0. Egger-Alekseeva 1-1. Of course, the no contest is Khalil Roundtree, where they were able to land, but Alekseijczuk just chin bullied, stomached and hit him. Got no contest. Of course, he beat Sam Alvey. Whoop, whoop. And then, of course, lost to Tennessee. OSP. Tennessee. Hiccups. Let's get through this. Sorry. Sorry, here we go. I don't know how to timestamp this, but yeah, Josh Quinlan, Trey Waters. I'll probably end up leaning toward Quinlan. I'll probably include all that under the timestamp. So sorry if you tuned in for a Quinlan-Waters breakdown. Not much there. This one I actually went through a bit and went some interviews. We got Charles Johnson, Energy, minus 140. Cody Durden, plus 115. Both fighters had decent notice for this one. Even though, short notice is Charles Johnson's thing. He jumped right on this. He knew he was going to need another fight. For his babies coming, maybe perhaps some motivation. Minus 140, a nickel discount on the line if you want to fire on some energy. I have terrible luck and really bad luck betting Charles Johnson fights. I bet Jalgas, and that was awful. Anybody, by the way, shame on anybody if anybody complains about Charles Johnson not winning the fight on O'Day, but doesn't give as much, if not the deserved more, outrage for Jalgas losing to Charles Johnson. Much less using a unanimous round where you make someone's leg give out. Which is hilarious because if you listen to Charles Johnson talk, he specifically citing leg damage and why he should have won. Which, by the way, closer fight, O'Day Osborne, than it realizes on scorecards and MMA decisions. I'm totally sympathetic with Charles Johnson on that. But it is funny to hear him people go cite leg damage is why he should have won that. But we're going to completely ignore someone's leg getting fucking turned off. Anyways, so again, back to poor winners and poor losers. That's another sign. You gotta keep that same energy. You gotta keep that same energy, dog. Keep that, especially if you're someone who bet Charles Johnson and you got away with it. Like, yeah, it's said and done. You already got your money. At least you could do is give ZZ Bottom some love. That guy could use it, right? It's being called ZZ Bottom by me, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, anyways, and then we got the comeback on Cody Durden plus 115. Cody Durden's going to want to grapple. He's got improved stand-up, and it's a small cage, but Charles Johnson has good takedown defense. It was crazy. So that last fight was a weird fight. It was a catch weight, short notice for each fighter. And then shout out to my guy, John Hyun Ko. I was supposed to do a preview with him, a show on him, but I was checking out some of his content regardless because he's the man. And he did a long interview with Charles Energy, and Charles Energy is a long-winded motherfucker myself, whom I did complain. But yeah, the guy gives like a ridiculous amount of context. He takes you through story time. But through that, he tells you all the shit he was dealing with, like sinus infections and stuff, which is why he gassed, which produced those bad optics in round 3. Particularly against O'Day Osborne. So it was a really hard fight, and even in that fight, he's doing everything you would want, especially, spoiler alert, with what I'm betting toward this fight, going for the late submissions, not just shutting down the takedowns, then going into the guillotines, trying to finish the fight, looking for damage, trying to finish and both secure the scorecards. Like, I'm very sympathetic to his side of things and feeling he did much better than what he was given credit for. I get that, believe me. But it's just something to keep in mind because that is a weird sample size of a fight. Whereas Durden was able to go to the 3 rounds, get the win. He's been able to do that before, and it's tough because you could argue that who was the guy he fought? Orichi Lang, the Mongolian Murderer. That guy beat him, right? Very underrated fighter, and which was fine because I was able to use that to cash on Orichi Lang, the Mongolian Murderer, later on down the line because people just see an L on the record, right? They don't realize how competitive and perhaps that the fight could have actually gone the other way. He was having his struggles in that fight, but regardless, he pulls out the win. But yeah, man, I don't know if he's going to be able to tread water against Charles Johnson when Charles Johnson is at his best. He realized that, he starts slower. He just knows he's a 5-round fighter. He's really picking up the urgency and finishing. It looked like he was in the last fight, to be honest, but hearing him coming into this fight and the motivation that last fight gave him and the motivation that you already have as a fighter and that he already has as a fighter and soon to be new father, which is why he's doing this turnaround and which is more his style. He actually thrives pretty okay with it. Man, he's definitely not going to be short on motivation to fight for your money because he's definitely fighting for his money in there. It is weird, though, because Cody Durden usually drops things early. It's not that he can't drop things late. Again, they're hard cuts to him at flyweight. We've seen him tire. We've seen him fall apart, right? So it could certainly happen in rounds 2 or 3 with those caveats and things within the context. Certainly. Hopefully. Spoiler alert where we're going here, where our bets are going. But yes, most of Cody Durden's drops are in round 1. I believe off the top of my head it's 5-4. 5 second-round finishes to 4 first-round finishes, but it should be 6-3 because, again, back to my bad luck of betting Charles Johnson fights, I bet him in round 2 or 3. Spoiler alert, like I did here. I'm going back to that well against Jimmy Flick and Kerry Hatley for like literally the first and only time in his career breaking the Texas Kumite trends that most of the judges down south have. Decided to stop it so early. Like, he had the round 1 prop. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, even people who didn't affect their bets were like, that was super fucking weird. Like, how did he not let him fight more, Even if it was going to go a certain way. That was a weird one. So, of course, I lost out on that. So you think, burn me once, burn me twice, right? Yeah, burn me thrice again, because I'm doing it again. I'm going Charles Johnson round 2 and 3. I did 17 unit shots. What did I get? Minus 700 for round 2, minus 800 for round 3. Most people I know are getting up and toward the thousands, but again, as if the beats of this game isn't hard enough to deal with, right? Not me, all of us. I'm not special, but if the beats in this game isn't hard enough, I got to get these shit lines too, right? But it's okay. 0.17 used there, and here's what I did. This will piss me off too, because it should be 0.33 unit. That's what I originally played for by submission, because I'm getting Jalen Turner vibes. I'm getting plus 700 Nate Landwehr vibes as well here. Another 700 club, baby. I'm getting the vibes on. If I was down at the book, which I'm thinking of an excuse to go, is there a restaurant down by a sports book I can go with my girlfriend and maybe be like, well, since I'm down here, sprinkle on some rounds. Because I may be busting open the window like Bruce Willis and firing the M60 machine gun on some round fly. I know it's a volatile card, but that's where the money is. You know, I love some high stakes round flyers. And I'll probably get better lines actually down there at the counter, even though those aren't that great either, by the way. But yeah, it's plus 700. So 700 club there by submission. It's annoying because it's listing at plus 1,000 at my BetMGM account, but it's not listing up there for me on the mobile, right? So I can't play it, which is annoying because in that case, I could probably stick to .33 and be happy and be clearing, over 3 units. Instead, my greedy ass, especially after hearing that interview and like hearing how, after I broke it down, hearing the fighter, I know it's fighter, they're going to say everything. They're going to visualize positivity, of course. But again, technically, breaking it down the same way, Charles Johnson's not a one-hit knockout guy. Cody Durden's a wrestling guy when he gets hurt. So all he has to do is hurt him, get him tired and hurt. And he's shooting right into front chokes. That's where Cody Durden's been caught by guillotines before in his career. And although Charles Johnson may only have 3 submissions, what do they come by? Guillotines, bravos, front choke threats, baby. That's what they come by. That's what his arms are built for. That's what the dynamic stylistically of this matchup calls for. That's what I usually do, even with guys with less of a potent submission threat. But just, you see it. You see that's how it's happening, right? The Lingo Landwehr, the Jalen Turner, and Brad Riddell High. I'm going, third time's the charm, right? If anybody's due to cash on energy, it's me. If anybody's fucking due. Give me energy. I ended up adding another 0.17U and the plus 700 to make it a half unit exposure, which takes home 3.5 units if he subs him alone, much less if he does it in rounds 2 or 3, which again won't be that much extra because I'm getting shit numbers on those, but I'll take it if I get it. Believe me, I won't fucking complain. If anybody's grateful, it's fucking this guy. Grateful as shit. It's a volatile game, folks. It's a lot of luck. We got to be honest with ourselves and be grateful for it. So that is the play there. And I'll probably do Charles Johnson by submission in a round robin as well. Again, not sure I'll play. I'm pretty exposed with my totals, and I already took a dog shot. I don't need to add any more chalk, right? So as far as money line plays, so or just in general, I'm not a fan of chalk. So it's very playable chalk. Right? Maybe that's a safer play. You just kick for coverage, sprinkle on the submission, or kick for coverage with the money line, sprinkle on Johnson rounds 2 and 3. I'm just going for all the fun stuff, submission rounds 2 and round 3. If he wins by decision, if he wins by round 1, if he wins by TKO, especially TKO by round 1, I'm fucked. But hey, that's why it's called gambling, folks. Next fight, and we'll try to hurry up and get out of here with these ones because I don't have much to say. Got Jake Collier minus 110 versus Martin. Buddy. By the way, minus 110 there. Of course, Michael Bisping impression. Speaking of Bisping, I have a note here that says Bisping, a couple of schoolgirls. I think it was one of Ricky Simone's fight. Brendan saying something like, I forget what it is, but it's completely non-sexual. Even like a pervert like me couldn't even like make it sexual, and that's like my whole fucking game and sense of humor. But it was something like Brendan was just like got challenged on something. He's like, "What? I can do that. What? You couldn't see me doing one of those things." And it was like calling something. I forget. It had nothing to do with females though. And then of course Bisping, he always takes things sexual. He was just like, "Yeah, sure, Brendan. I can see you there doing that with a couple of schoolgirls." And it just got really awkward. I'm like, Jesus, Bisping. It reminded me of, speaking of Brad Riddell, go watch Brad Riddell versus Rafael Fiziev, and they talk about the Anik or whoever brings up the dynamic, and they were like, well, that's right, Brad Riddell used to coach at Tiger Muay Thai, and when he left to train at City Kickboxing, Rafael Fiziev took the spot. And then Bisping is just like, that's right. He goes, got the leftovers, did he? I'm just like, and it just was like awkwardly silent, like, that's one way to put it. I'm like, Jesus, Bisping. It was a 4 p.m. coaching slot, not a spent orifice. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? I love Bisping, by the way, but it's like, Apologies, Adam. The very rough descriptors. Only the Protect Your Neck podcast. Spent orifice. I thought he's supposed to break down fights. Sorry, folks. We'll get to that. But yeah, like Bisping, I love Bisping, but he always makes it sexual. It's hilarious. He's like, hey, he got the leftovers, didn't he? Like, it's a coaching slot, dog. It's not a fucking used orifice. Like, what are we quantifying here, Bisping? Anyways, Buddha. Hopefully Bisping's in the call for Martin. Buddha. That's right, Buddha. Hey, Buddha. I'll probably take Buddha. If he goes to plus money, I feel like you should play it out of principle, but it's heavyweight MMA. It's a crap card, and I'm overexposed. Don't really got opinions on Stephanie Edgar minus 300 over Egger-Alekseeva. Does she have a Sleva? I don't know. I haven't looked at this fight. I'll probably pick the favorite and stay the fuck away, motherfucker. It's just one of those days. It's all about the Haley Cowan breakdown. She's a southpaw, but it doesn't matter because she fights people who doesn't fight anybody, and it doesn't matter, and she doesn't fight anyways. It's all about the not fighting and trying to break down Haley Cowan. There we go. That was terrible, the Biscuit song. That's all she gets, though. And I don't feel bad about it, folks, because this fight will probably get canceled, too. And it will be all for nothing. But I will probably go with Jamie Lynn Horth, because she is the favorite, and I know nothing. Who knows? Journey Newsome. Minus 190. Barry Lincoln. Are they having sex or lifting weights? Shout out to anybody who understands that reference. Versus Marcus McGhee, which reminds me of, like, it was like... Did Gan McGee used to spell that name? I'm getting like Tim Sylvia Gan McGee flashbacks with his name here. Plus 160. Short notice replacement. We'll probably pick Newsome. Surprise, surprise. So gonna clean up the chat and then recap picks and plays here. Okay, how did we do on time? 141, not bad. I expected to go longer, and it was like 3 events as opposed to 4. Not bad. What do we got in here? Da-da-da-dun. By the way, I'm going to answer you guys regardless. But yes, these videos are monetized for the super likes, the super chats. I will answer it regardless. But I think the super like, you can go back and like, use that as a tip if you don't want to use the Dan Tom MMA, which are Daniel Tom, Dan Tom MMA on PayPal.com, at Dan Tom MMA on Twitter and Instagram. You find in my link tree, there's a secure PayPal link, as well as the website that hosts this here program, mixedmartialanalyst.com, my website, host of the Protect Your Neck podcast, my podcast. Go to mixedmartialanalyst.com toward the right, toggle down, scroll down just slightly. You will see Amazon and On It click-through banners where you click through, no extra cost of your own. It kicks back a small percentage of your purchase without charging you anything extra, and it kicks it back to this here program, which is greatly appreciated. Doesn't list who you are, but Amazon will tell me the items. Not going to do a read-through or recrack any David Carradine jokes here. Want to clean up fast, but that is where you can find it. Got to at least give myself some self-promotion, because above those banners, you can find a secure PayPal link if you want to donate to the show straight up. Since I'm not on a Discord, I'm not on a Patreon, I don't charge. I'm free for over almost a decade now. And actually, even though I don't, because you have to change with the times because they just flood us with crap. But I do my due diligence for what it's worth. So yeah, you can shout me there. There's my bullshit tip jar moment. But yes, monetized channel. You can tip most of all the videos. Andy, late to the party here, nonetheless. Salute you, Dan, in the chat. Thank you, Andy, and your Razor Ramon Avi, which you always rank high here because of that, sir. Rios is in Truesdale. Thank you, Dan. Jack Slack also complains about the UFC just filling content. You are preaching to the choir. Thank you, sir. He says, bad cards, bad UFC. Yeah, unfortunately, right? Keep it rhyming. What do you say? Why don't you go eat some hay? Jimmy Kudo. I don't have any clever analysis, but I like to watch Simon versus Merab, where either is fighting. Such a fun fight. Absolutely, very fun fight. James Kendrick, is Yadong explosive? Or he says, his words, air quotes, black explosive, like Jack Slack trademark. Yeah, I'm not as comfortable saying that, but I have heard that term. Did he trademark it now? Okay. Shouts to Jackie Boy, I guess. Mushroom MMA. What's up, Mushroom? Nice to see you. Glad to catch you live, brother. Appreciate you. I wish I could take your mushroom like an avatar and grow big or see big images and have some real fun, if you know what I'm saying. Shouts to those people in the house. We got James Kendrick. Remember, Sadiq Yusuf said Jack Slack says black explosive a lot. About Sadiq Yusuf? Oh, but Sadiq Yusuf seems like he would say that about himself. Doesn't he do like comedic breakdowns? Ghost Phantom, always go with the better cardio, Santino DeFranco. Santino DeFranco's a wise man, so that's probably a wise saying, yeah? Jimmy Kudo, do you fade Americani because death taxes exactly at the start of the second round? Absolutely. I mean, obviously that's a dynamic I'm very biased toward with my betting, but for good reason. If we're searching for darts and value, I mean, that's the beauty of guys like Americani. We know how to bet on them, and we know how to bet against them. 99% of the time, at least. Rio says in Truesdale, why does the Greek basis fight picks on line changing instead of watching actual fights? That's his background. He actually went to school for economics and numbers. Not saying it's the way to go. It is a way, and he definitely gives credit to people who do it like myself and definitely cites what he does in his defense. But yeah, that's definitely his style. Rio Susan Truesdale continues, says, seems incredibly not smart being very nice here. I'm trying to be very, very nice too because he is a very nice guy for what it's worth to me. I don't know him personally. I cannot speak for him as a human being, nor would I. But I am not a hater, and I give credit where credit's due. Him and he works with a guy that I greatly respect in this space, Nick Kalikas. Shout out to Nick, OG in the space, OG in the most respectful of ways. Both of them have offered me a spot on their platform as a guest, and I am more than grateful. They don't need to be doing that shit. They got enough great analysis in themselves on their team with the UFC. For them to even think of me, I am grateful for. So the guy has showed no hater energy for what it's worth. So I'm definitely not trying to show that in general toward anybody, much less people who have been kind to me. Does that mean I can defend everything or anything? Of course not. But, for what it's worth. Seems like a nice guy. Rain Lamina, the Adrian Yanez of bringing the courage. Despite all my rage, I am still just on Dan's page. Okay, cool. Kawaii in the streets. Senpai in the sheets. I love it. This is Rain Lamina, by the way, not me. Filter out the noise. Stay loyal to the boys. There we go. All right. Jimmy Kudo, speaking of Brad Riddell, he's officially kickboxing coach at Bang Tao. Good for him. Shout out to Bang Tao Muay Thai. Wei Li told her fans. That's right. Repeated since it won't show up. Oh, wow. Gonna get the end here. Prince of Mischief. What's up, Prince of Mischief? Ghost Phantom, do you have RSS link so I can share your potty with all my friends? I'm sure it is. I don't know how to find it. You guys are probably better at finding it than me. You can share the link of the podcast, the YouTube page. Ghost, you can go to Apple Podcasts, share the link there. Go to mixedmartialanalyst.com and share the link from there. So, those are options for you. I appreciate all the shares. Going to recap picks and plays and get the F out of here before it gets too late now. All right. Taking Simon Vato over Yadong. Sorry, I'm not taking it. All right, come on, Dan. Taking Borralho over Olekseijczuk. Taking Brundage over Vieira. Taking Bueller. Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Juliana-Rosa over Fernando Padilla. Taking Welcome to My House. Marcos Rogério. De Lima Fossamish. Over Waldo Cortez Acosta. Sorry about that. Taking Josh Quinlan. Probably to give me flashbacks cornering against him. To beat Trey Waters. Check my quick picks and prognostications for that one. Probably taking Martin Buday over Jake Collier. Check me on Twitter on Fight Day at DanTomMMA for that one. Taking Charles Energy Johnson over Cody Durden. Probably taking Stephanie Edger over Egger-Alekseeva. Does she have a sleeve? I don't know. You got to check me at DanTomMMA on Fight Day. Probably taking Jamie Lynn Horth. It sounds like a Canadian coffee and donut company over Haley Cowan, the mysterious Haley and Southpaw Cowan. We'll see. Check my picks and plays at DanTomMMA for Fight Day, as well as Journey Newsome to take out the returning McGhee. Just kidding, Marcus McGhee. But again, check me at DanTomMMA on Fight Days. I do the weird thumbs up here to the screen where it's listed. As far as plays go, I don't know what I have for my round robin. Maybe Simone round 3 or round 3 Simone submission if it lets me in a perfect world. Would probably also be Borralho submission in a perfect world. We'll probably go Johnson by submission. Maybe I have to bust out submission. Sorry. Maybe I just do that and then I would just throw Brundage down there money line, to see what he ends up with. For that, if I can't think of anybody else to keep the submission play, not that I don't think my shit limits me. Who am I kidding? I won't be able to play it. But do it for me. Let me know if you round robin for me, and if you do well, let me live vicariously for you. Try not to give you too much shit if you lose because of me, right? You're an adult, make your own decision. But I won't mind the credit. I won't mind the credit, and of course, I will be accountable as per usual. I will be hard on myself more than I need to be, as per usual, sadly, right here on the Protect Your Neck podcast. So, folks, until next time, good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.